Well, good morning, folks.
Audio.
Glad you could stop by. I'm in the ham shack, and I have been out in the pole barn in the tool shed working on the hinge for tower number 2. I'm looking out the window and I can see tower number 1. And that's still sort of in the preliminary stage. It's not really completed, but it's in progress, in works, or whatever. It's my learning tower. It's sort of like the prototype. I built a couple of hinges, different types, and I finally settled on the hinge that I'm building right now. So if you had the hinge up, say 20 feet, then when the tower tilted over, you would have to have a pretty tall step ladder to get up there to work on your antenna. The first hinge that I had, I think I made a video on that, was it tilted down to on a 30-something degree angle. So when the hinge was up, say 10 feet or 20 feet, the antenna at the top of the tower would come very close to the ground. Depending on how high. The whole concept on this tower stuff is like, you know, every kid wants his antenna, wants to have an antenna array sitting on top of a tower. Well, I've been there and done that, but I'm at the point now where we have a couple acres of land. From here, we'll probably end up in a nursing home. So I want to do something with the 100+ feet of tower that I had kicking around here. So I'm making 3 small towers that I can fold over, walk up to them, work on the antennas, and push the button on the electric winch and have the tower go back up. We're talking only in the vicinity between 30 and 33 feet, 34 feet. We're not talking, you know, 80-foot towers, stuff like that. This is something that an old man can handle, that I don't have to worry about climbing anymore. And so the first tower is up. It's doing fine. It's not completely done. I'm still using it to experiment with. The second tower that I'm building now, I'm going to completely build this tower, finish it, and then move on to tower number 3, in which will probably be the same as tower number 2. I don't know how tall it's going to be, but it's going to be tall enough for me. The way I look at it is my beam antennas are better 30 feet off the ground than they are sitting in boxes or all strapped up hanging in the back of the pole barn or sitting in boxes in the barn, not doing anything. I get a couple of years or so, 3 years maybe, out of using them here, and that's fine. I'm happy. And that's the key to this whole thing, is my happiness. So we'll take a walk out to the pole barn. We'll go out to the tower. It's overcast and it's stormy today, but we'll take a walk out. I have some photos of the installation of the base section and the first section of tower, in which I'll insert in this video. They're pretty self-explanatory. The tower, normally your base section of your tower sits just above the ground 2 or 3 inches. In this case, the base section of my towers are all below ground level. And the reason for that is that in 3 years or 4 years, when the towers get taken down and given away, all I have to do is put some dirt over the holes, throw some sod on top of it, and that's the end of it. I don't have to dig out a yard and a half of cement and then fill that hole back up. It's not going to be my problem. The foundation will be below ground. So the soil here is very sandy. So when we do have an accumulation of water on the top of the foundation, which is pretty close to a foot below the surface of the ground, in a matter of hours it just dries up anyways. We're in a semi-tropical climate here, so I'm not really worried. And like I say, 3 or 4 years, they're not going to rot out, and I'll be out of here. So the whole theme is 3 towers, between 30 and 35 feet, that will fold over at about 10 feet above the ground. The beam antennas, I am putting homemade fold over hinges. So when the tower starts to come down, like this, folds in half, the antennas will swing up and lay flat to the ground. So we don't have to worry about the elements hitting the ground. I'll make a video on that hinge, homemade hinge thing, and it'll be something of interest. I'm just doing it on a not for sale, not maybe the best way, but my way of getting the job done for a few years. Alright, we just stepped out of the ham shack, and we're looking southeast, and we'll take a walk over, and this is the first section of this tower number 2, and I'll insert some pictures as to how it got here, and how I managed to mix all the cement by hand without killing myself. And this is looking down in the base, and it's about 1.5 feet down, and this hole is 3.5 feet by 3.5 feet by about 4.5 feet. So we have a pretty good block of concrete down there. It's about a yard of cement, and the bottom of the hole is beveled out all around. Make a lip of about 6 or 8 inches, in which gives it some extra stability. So that's one section of RON 25 sitting up there. And from this tower, we can turn around, look over. Here's one of the pole barns that we have. I have a 6-meter Yagi sitting on a couple of step ladders that I'm experimenting with, tuning it, and I got to actually rebuild it. It was given to me by my friend J.T. Green, so I got to rebuild that. And there's my tool shed, and that's tower number 1. And on top of that is a tri-band Yagi. And there's our little RV that we take to Hamcation, although I'm not going this year. And the ham shack. And on the other side over there is a little 2-bedroom cottage that we built. Quite haven't finished it yet, but that's the way that is. And there's the house. And looking north is my satellite dish farm for my free-to-air satellite TV stuff that I mess with. And that's the front of the property, looking at the road. That's that. So let's go to the pole barn. Okay, this is a section of the tower. This is the top section that I'm going to modify to be able to put the rotor in it, put the rotor plate on the top for the thrust bearing, and right in here we'll set a rotor plate for the rotor. This rib gets cut out so you can put the rotor in and out. And this is my welding area. Since I started this project, I bought a new welder, a little MIG welder, which really is much better than my stick welding. And let's see. All right, we're going to go in the tool shed, and nice and warm in here. I have a small space heater sitting in here, and of course the shed is all insulated and paneled and everything, so it stays nice and warm. And I have my drill press on this bench over here, and all kinds of just shelving with all kinds of junk on here, and all my liquid supplies. It's been getting too cold, believe it or not, down here in South Carolina to leave stuff like that outside in the winter. Well, these are the main pieces of the hinge section that I've got them dyed with this. Get my fingers out of the way here. Dytech, which is it's a blue dye that you put on steel to mark it to when you scratch your markings, it's much more visible and it stays. So I'm going to mark these out, and I've got to cut these round so that the hinges go by each other, and I've got to prick punch here and then drill a hole for the 1/2-inch rod that is going to be part of the hinge. We'll get to that on another video, but right now I got to get to work. Okay, we're back. Okay. All right, we're back here in the tool shed, and you can see there these. I've scribed them, and I've also prick punched right in the middle of the scribes with a scribe over. Oops, getting camera here. I don't know if this will focus in on it or not. I guess it won't. So anyways, they're all scribed and prick punched, and what I have to do is along this scribe here, along this scribe here, I have to cut this on the bandsaw, to cut this round on the bandsaw. And but right now I'm going to be drilling this hole in where this prick punch is on each one of these units. I'll tell you, I got to give the people that make these videos credit, because it's harder than it looks. I'm just no good at videography, but I'm just wanting to show other hams and folks some food for thought. That's all this whole thing is. Well, I know there's some guys out there that are going to want to know how I'm drilling these holes. This video is really not how to use a drill press or things like, or the procedures on drilling holes, but I scribed the plates, I prick punched them, and I drilled the first hole that I drilled was a 19/64. And the reason I chose that is because I don't use that drill bit, so I knew it would be nice and sharp. So I drilled this hole in all of these plates. Then when I got that done, I switched to a this camera doesn't focus very well. It's a 27/64. 27/64. That's what I have in the drill press right now. And so this is the last plate that has to get drilled. So I'm going to drill that. But that's, you just go up in size as you go along. And I use drill bits to go up in size that make sense physically, and also ones that I don't normally use. So I spread the wealth around. Hi. Okay. All right, we're out here at our Harbor Freight bandsaw. I did put it on wheels. I built a cart to a chassis sort of to put it on wheels so I could wheel it around the pole barn. And so we just cut the first corner off, and we went right along the edge of the scribe line. And it's hard to see the scribe line, but it's there. And so we're going to cut all of these off, and then take them over to the grinding wheel and grind them right down to the edge of the line, make it perfect. And I'll be back later. I'm going to lunch now, though. Okay, here's the 4 ears that make up the hinge. I've taken them on the bandsaw, and I've cut them all rounded. And now I'm going to take and put them on the bench grinder, grind them down nice, make them all exactly the same. I'll put a bolt through them, sandwich them all together, and make sure that they're all perfect. And then these things here will get mounted like this to form the hinge. You'll see. Okay, here's what the hinge assembly looks like. I just tack welded it together here, this piece here, and tack welded it here. And this ear, oops, this ear here is tack welded to this side. So that makes up the hinge. It's too dark for you to see it on that side. It's not. I'm out in the pole barn here, so we don't have studio lighting. So let me show you how this. I got this threaded rod through there to keep everything aligned straight. So if we turn this around, okay. Now the piece on the right here. Let me try to get the piece on the right that's on the table. That's the stationary piece of tower. And this one on the left here is the main tower itself. So right now the main tower is vertical. So if I wanted to lay it down to work on the antennas, the tail piece is down here, going down to the ground. So it would go this way, and it would come up to about 90 degrees. The reason you can't go any further is because the tower will be hitting over here. So see, the tower can come all the way. Try to pull back here. Let me see if I can't oops. Yeah. So this is how the hinge works. And you see it's rounded off, so it just goes right by. But see, it'll go straight up and down. And the idea is to have, this is where the tower leg is here, right in here. And the idea is to have the weight of the part of this hinge against the leg, not all against the flat bar. And it's the same over on this side. Got to get the outside piece of hinge as close as you can to being in line with the leg. So there it is. It's tacked together, and we'll take this threaded rod out. Let's see. See if you have it. Oops. If you have it built right, the threaded rod should just pull right out, and that means the hinge is perfectly in line. So now we'll finish welding it, clean it up, primer it, and paint it. And that's for today. I'm cold. I'm going in the house. We'll pick this video up another day. Alright, we're back here at the pole barn. It's about 40 degrees out. It's too cold to be out here welding or working. But what I did want to show you is how I came about making these brackets. This smaller one, that one there, and the main frame here, and the larger one. What I did was I took, and I'm going to insert some pictures here of how I used this small piece of tower as the form to do this. you can just take and set that right over the tower like that, and this one here is even going to be bigger. And oh yes, I'd be very neglectful if I didn't mention thanks to my brother-in-law, Carl, for the nice magnetic tray. I'm going to have to make another video after this. This video's too long. It's a little over 30 minutes. So I'm going to make another video showing putting this all together. But for now, 73s, and hope everybody stays well. If I don't get it done before Christmas, Merry Christmas, everyone, and God bless. Bye-bye.